Hey everyone, this is Dylan, and today I'm going to be doing a movie review for you guys. So the movie I'm reviewing today is A Nightmare on Elm Street 2: Freddy's Revenge. This movie was released on November 1st, 1985, so that means it's celebrating its 35th anniversary this year. If you're looking to watch this, as of the filming of this video, it is available to watch on the Sci-Fi app. So this movie was directed by Jack Sholder. While I don't usually mention the writer, I will because the writer plays a big part in some of the behind the scenes history of this movie. So this was written by David Chaskin. It stars Mark Patton as Jesse Walsh, Kim Myers as Lisa Weber, Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger, and Robert Russler as Ron Grady. This movie had a budget of $13 million, and it made $30 million at the box office. And this is apparently the gayest horror film ever made, and I'll talk a lot about that when I get to my likes and dislikes. So this movie is basically following Jesse as him and his family have moved in to Nancy Thompson's house from the first Nightmare on Elm Street movie. And while he's having like these really bad dreams, and he's not sure why, because he wakes up almost every morning screaming, and he starts liking this girl, Lisa, who lives down the street from him, and she comes over to help him like kind of sort through his stuff because he has not unpacked his room yet. While she's helping him unpack, she finds a diary that's in the closet, which is from Nancy Thompson, and it basically details the entire first movie and how there's this guy named Fred Krueger and he's trying to kill her in her dreams. And basically this then becomes a movie where I would say this becomes a possession movie where Freddy starts to kind of possess Jesse. And Jesse has to figure out how he's going to survive and get rid of Freddy for good. So I think that's where I'm going to leave the synopsis. I mean, that's a pretty vague synopsis, but I think that a majority of this movie has to deal with what happened behind the scenes that makes it really interesting. Alright, so as I alluded to before, this is considered by some people as the gayest horror film ever, which I think probably there are gayer films out there now, but probably at the time of this being filmed and released, it probably was considered that. And that was mostly because of, well, okay, so during the filming of this movie, we had Mark Patton, and I don't specifically remember if he was not publicly out, but he was out to like the people around him. But he was a closeted actor at the time this came out. And once this movie released, a lot of people kind of got this idea that there was just a lot of gay and homoerotic undertones in this movie. And I think if I had watched it without knowing anything about it, I really kind of wouldn't have thought a ton about it. But knowing that there are these undertones, definitely they stick out a whole lot more. And basically the director and the writer both said that this movie was a gay movie because Mark Patton was the one that made it gay. It basically ruined Mark Patton's life, which is horrible, and they basically outed Mark Patton, which is never a good thing to do, and it's ridiculous that this happened. This came out in 1985, so this was at the height of the AIDS crisis, and it was just a horrible thing to do. It meant that he was no longer going to get work because at the time gays and lesbians were not really a thing in Hollywood. And if they were, then you were in the closet, because if you came out, then it would ruin your career. And so then it came out later that David Chaskin written the gay undertones into the script. After all of these years of him saying that it was Mark Patton who did it. It's ridiculous, and I would definitely recommend to check out the documentary that Mark Patton created about the whole entire story, which is called Scream Queen: My Nightmare on Elm Street. And it is streaming on Shudder if you are looking for it. But I would definitely pair that with watching this movie so then you can get some context into some of the behind the scenes stuff that was happening. Like, most of it I don't think or really any of it, really came out on the screen itself, like during the movie, other than these kind of very obvious gay and homoerotic undertones. But now that I've kind of mentioned that and went on a slight bit of a rant, I want to talk about what I liked about this movie. So I thought that the practical effects revolving around Freddy and also Jesse were really, really cool. There was one scene where you can see that Freddy is coming like out of Jesse, like through his like chest and stomach, and there's a little part where it definitely, you can tell that it's a dummy, but it looked pretty cool for the most part, and I really enjoyed that scene and most of the special effects in this movie. I really liked, not at first, but the Jesse, Grady, and Lisa kind of friendship type things, or relationship, depending on how you view this movie. I really liked how they evolved, and it was really sad that what had happened to Grady, but I think that overall, the entire friendship relationship between all three of them was quite nice. And I also like that this movie, so this will be something that I give the writer of this movie, but I do like the subversion of the Scream Queen trope, and how we now have a Scream, and I'm sure somebody else has said it like this, but a Scream King, with Jesse being the one that survives. And I like that subversion of a common trope, and I think that it should be used a whole lot more. So, onto the things that I did not like. For some reason, Jesse is always pouring with sweat in this movie, which is very weird. And I don't know, it could be like an allusion to the boiler room, and how since Freddy has kind of possessed him in a way, that the boiler room is kind of like he's always sweaty because of something like that. But it was just kind of weird overall. And then I also don't like the behind the scenes treatment of Mark Patton and what happened with all of that, and how the director and the writer both blamed him essentially, when it was very clear that that was what was happening from the very beginning. But I would definitely recommend checking out both of those films. But that is it for this review. Now that we've heard what I had to say about this movie, let's talk about what other people thought of this movie. On Letterboxd, it has a 2.8 out of 5. On Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 41% critic score and a 33% audience score. And on Metacritic, it has a 43% out of 100. So I would say that I actually enjoy this movie. I think that it's a good Nightmare on Elm Street movie. This is one of the darker of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies before Freddy kind of became a caricature of himself, and I really appreciate this thing. I mean, I think that this movie kind of gets forgotten when you take into the context all of the behind the scenes drama that happened with it, but I definitely enjoyed this and would definitely recommend that you guys check it out if you've not already seen it, or maybe revisit it if you haven't seen it in a while. But that is it for this review. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you think of Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge in the comments down below, whether you like it or you don't like it, and why. And if you're not already subscribed and you'd like to be, please hit that subscribe button down below and give this video a like if you liked it. Thank you guys for watching and have a great day. Bye.